I'm Martin Wolf. I'm here at the World Economic Forum in Davos, and I'm talking with Bill and Melinda Gates about development, creative capitalism, and the work of their remarkable, enormous foundation. Can I just start by asking you both, what do you think has come out of the creative capitalism idea? And perhaps you can give some concrete examples. I believe one of the particularly remarkable examples is what's been going on in Kenya with Vodafone. Perhaps, Melinda, you could explain what exactly this has meant and how exciting it is.
Well, in the last 21 months, Vodafone, in combination with DFID, with £1 million from DFID, has started a program on their cell phones, and Safaricom is another one of their partners in Kenya, where they're reaching out to people who in the past never accessed banking services because they weren't welcomed at the banks. It took money to transport themselves into the city. It was unsafe for them to hold their assets and take them into the city. But now that they can go into any Vodafone outlet, Safaricom outlet, and there's many of these in the Kibera slum, in fact, in Kenya, they can go in and put small amounts of money, if they want to put $3 or $10 on their cell phone in a week, and then they have it on their cell phone, and they can transfer that money then to somebody, one of their relatives in a remote village or a friend, or they can carry their cell phone into the city. Their money is then safe. It's on the cell phone and spend it in the city. Many of the people at first were cashing out their assets when they wanted to spend the money, but now, because they have 5 million people using their cell phone, it's called M-Pesa, the Swahili word for mobile money, people aren't even cashing out on their phones. They're actually sending currency to their retailer when they buy something and just transferring the currency. To me, that's a fundamental change. It's how capitalism is helping bring banking to the poor. You have more people doing this than using the banking system now in Kenya. That's a fundamental change, and I think one that will really help a lot of people.
Now, in the letter that you've just sent out, I think earlier this week, on the things that you've been achieving the foundation and your concerns, you raised very directly the worry about the economic crisis and its implications, and you called on governments to sustain aid in order to get countries, the poor, through this. How worried are you, from what you see on the ground, about the impact of this on the poorest people in the world?
Well, this crisis is the worst for the poor because they're the ones who end up without enough food to eat or without being able to send their kids to school. And it's a real setback. They can't invest, say, in fertilizer that gives them the productivity and creates a virtuous cycle. And so we think it's very important, even in these tough times, for the rich governments to maintain and increase aid levels. So far, that looks pretty good. We've only got one country that's looking at big cuts, Italy, and even there we're hopeful that gets reversed. Our foundation experienced a decline in asset values of 20%, and yet we said that given the importance of what's going on, and to set an example, we would actually pay out more this year than we did last year. And so we're hopeful that that's the spirit of how people take this. We know it won't be easy. In many previous downturns, aid got cut.
Absolutely.
Now, though, aid is more visible. It's more focused on health and food. People are hearing the success stories. We have brilliant partners like Bono or Richard Curtis who are creatively getting the message out there that taxpayers should feel good that the UK and others are continuing to increase generosity.
What do you say to the many critics, and you, particularly in America, I'm living in America at the moment, just say that aid is money down the drain. We shouldn't be giving this money, particularly through governments. Actually, you're proof that what we should rely on is individual efforts, charitable efforts, and the market. And that actually the aid is simply a great mistake. How do you respond to these sorts of criticism, which I'm sure you must hear very often?
We hear it, but I think the other thing that what we're trying to make sure that people understand is aid is effective. And I think we have lots of areas we can show that there's been real progress made on the ground. So, for instance, malaria incidence is down in countries like Zanzibar, Zambia, Ethiopia, Rwanda. It's down in some countries by over 50% and some by 60% because of the way the donors have aligned with the governments. So if the government puts the right structure in place and then you have something like Global Fund come in and distribute bed nets, Global Fund has distributed 60 million bed nets. That's how we've gotten these declines. And so I think we're able to say, look, aid is making a huge difference. We are literally saving people's lives. And when you say there's 1 million children a year that are affected by malaria, but we're making progress against those, I think that's what keeps people wanting to give.
Final question, it's the very, very quick. Bill, are you enjoying your new life? Must be quite a shock to move to this. Are you regretting it, or are you thrilled?
Well, I gave up a job that I loved that was about breakthroughs and working with smart people. And I'm very pleased to find that this job has the same magic elements. We're working on breakthroughs. They're hard. The people are dedicated and smart. I get to learn new things. I get to work with Melinda. And so it's been a real pleasure.